Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. Today we are test driving the 2023 Ford Bronco Wildtrak in Eruption Green. And we're doing a little bit different today. We're doing a what's it like to live with this thing every day kind of review. So the first thing we're doing right here is headed to the car wash so that we can get this ready for a video shoot. Yeah, look at this. Getting the brushes, getting the first initiation of soap and water. Woo! Now, the height of this is roughly 6'5". I measured it and I looked at the specs. And so the height here at this car wash is plenty fine for that. The width is plenty fine. So this is a vehicle that can be driven to a car wash, but always check to make sure you're good. Now, so far, no leaks in here. I don't have any water dripping on me or anything else inside. All right, here comes the rinse, the no spot rinse. And now for the wind tunnel. One thing I'm noticing here is that the hood is not fluttering very much. Some cars I bring in here, these aluminum hoods, they bounce and they jump and they flex. This thing's solid as a rock. All right guys, we made it through the car wash. If you're still watching, now we're going to do the rest of our video. The next step in our little video today is getting to the top floor of the parking garage where we're going to do our walk around. And so that means getting into the parking garage. And just like at the car wash, I have to roll down the window and reach out and press a button. The ride height here does force me to kind of reach down quite a bit to get down into where I can get my ticket. So as you can see, we've got pretty good clearance in this particular parking garage, 7'2". That's more than enough. And so just like the car wash or anywhere else you go that's got low clearance, you just be mindful of what your clearance is up here so that you can get where you're going. And in tight spaces like this, one of the benefits of the Bronco is the fact that in spite of its bulky size, it's actually got a pretty tight turning circle, surprisingly, at least in a relative sense. It's not quite as small as a Chevrolet Spark, but it's a very maneuverable vehicle because that's what you want when you're out off-roading. And so in a tight parking garage like this, even though it's big, not going to be a problem for most people getting in and out of it and putting it into a parking space. So what's all this business about doing a living with it every day city-fied test drive of the Bronco Wildtrak? Well, here's the deal. I've already test driven multiple Broncos in various trim grades, Raptor. I did another Badlands with a Sasquatch package. You can see all of those test drives, my detailed test drives, off-road, on-road, the whole nine, on our playlist linked at the end of the video. So there is that. This is a review based on questions I've been getting from my viewers. They want to know what's it like to live with every day. So that's what we're talking about today. And what we have here is a 2023 Wildtrak, which is the top of the line just below the Bronco Raptor. And so as tested, this one is about $64,000. Beautiful color of Eruption Green. I like it. I'm not normally a green guy, but this color just has a nice sort of a gold pearl hue in it. I really like it. I would almost choose this if I were getting one of these things. And of course, Wildtrak, you've got all of the good off-road stuff that the Sasquatch package offers. This has a lot of options on it. That's why we get to that price. And it's just got some nice looking details. These fender flares I've always liked. I do like the square ones of the Everglades and the Raptor a little better, but these look good. Those are massive tires, 315. Look at those. Those are massive. Those are huge. And beadlock capable wheels with them. On the hood, nice little Wildtrak graphic, and I love the gun sights. Always have. They're not really gun sights, but that's what I call them. This has the hardtop molded in gray and big spare tire mounted on the back. So look, living with this every day in the city, that's what most people do. That's why we're doing a review. not very many people actually live out in the wild all day, every day. So we're going to be talking about what the experience is actually trying to park this in a garage, drive it through the garage, what we've already done, the car wash, and so on. The first part of living with the everyday conversation is getting in and out. This is an off-road vehicle. It's lifted up. It's got a good level of height off the ground. And this particular one does not have any rock rails or running boards or anything in the way of a step to step onto to get in and out. So when you are getting in and out, you do have a bit of a step up and in to get into this vehicle. It's not too bad. I've had a lot worse. But as you get in and out of this vehicle, it does take a little bit of extra work, and it's quite a bit of a step out as you're getting out. That's really where I notice it more than getting up into it. Now, the other cool little detail that I've always thought was pretty interesting with the Broncos, you notice how this door opens right up, that glass gets right up to that fixed mirror right there. Just kind of an interesting design, the way they did that, but it works. The door never opens all the way into that mirror, and the reason why is because these doors do come off. And we have another video showing how they come off and how easy that is. But that way the mirror is always there, even when this door is off. Another thing we're talking about is getting in and out of the back and the cargo area. A little bit different than your RAV4. This actually has a swing out tailgate that, as you can see, opens up and a bit of a swing arm. Now, the way this gas strut works here, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. It doesn't always move in a linear way. And sometimes it sort of jumps out of your hand and does some surprising things, but it's pretty sturdy nonetheless, and it has to be since it holds that spare tire. Now you can see all my gear in here, but to get the rest of this open, on the hard top, you open the glass in a separate piece. And so as you can see, that gives full access to the interior here. Now, my gear is taking up some kind of space in here, but one thing for the price of this vehicle that I did find a little bit surprising is the unfinished nature of the inside of the cargo gate. It's bare steel with spot welds showing. I'm not complaining about it personally, but for the amount of money, I'm surprised they didn't put some kind of a cover or trim panel on that. I would be told by probably a lot of you Bronco people out there that the reason why is because with the bare steel, that enables you easily to accessorize and bolt a lot of things on there. And I've seen a lot of accessories that you can put on the inside of this gate. So I'm not complaining about it, just pointing it out. One thing you can do if you choose, you can put the door closed with the door open here. Now that's probably not something you want to do driving around too much, but it isn't some kind of an automatic thing. If you want it all closed up and sealed, you do have to remember to put this down first and then close the gate. So we're going to go for a drive, and I'm backing out of a parking space, and I will tell you that this backup camera with the 360-degree view is pretty helpful because this thing is just full of blind spots. You really have to depend on these cameras because, well, I mentioned gun sights on the outside. That's kind of what it seems like looking outward from inside this thing. It's very short. It's very much like my Hummer H2 when I had it when it comes to outward visibility. Once you get used to the vehicle and you know just sort of intuitively what its perimeter is, it's helpful, but especially if you're new in it, trying to find where your edges are and when you're backing up and making sure you don't hit anything takes a little bit of work and extra care. So the first thing we can talk about is this powertrain, 2.7 liter V6 twin turbocharged 10-speed automatic transmission. It's almost getting to be a well-proven powertrain, dare I say, and by that I mean it's been out for quite some time, variations of it in the F-150 in the past. So it's not a new engine per se, but this particular tune with 330 horsepower using premium fuel is pretty powerful, and you need it with this big heavy vehicle. Laying into the power, the engine, I will say, is a little bit on the grainy side. It's noisy. That's a nice way of saying noisy, and it's not a pleasant sound. It's a little bit, well, it sounds like a meat grinder cranking up, if I'm honest. And it really is an exhaust note. It's mechanical noise from under the hood. Maybe an exhaust system on this would help balance that out, so at least you get some surprise at the end of what's going on under the hood. And this does have an auto start-stop system, and I do find that it's relatively aggressive. And like right now, it's about 103 degrees outside, and a lot of times these systems will defeat the auto start-stop once you get above a certain temperature. At the moment, at 104, it's not turning the engine off, but when I was under 100 degrees earlier this morning, it was turning it off, and my air conditioner was going a little bit limp. So something to note, there is a switch to turn it off. Now this transmission, there's been mixed reports out there about it. I generally liked it in most of the vehicles that I've tested, especially in stop and go traffic around town. I find that it works pretty well, and it has the ability to skip gears when you don't need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 through the rev range. And so it's not always busy as it might sound when you hear that 10 in the 10-speed transmission. And of course, you do have drive modes down here that can alter the way this transmission behaves. But for everyday driving around town, I find that it seems to be unobtrusive. Coming up to another stoplight here. Again, this is a pretty wide vehicle with these wheels sticking out with the flares, and it's helped me to adjust my mirrors so that I can just see the edge of that fender flare, and that helps me see where the edges of my vehicle are. Because one thing I've noticed, at least in the first bit of driving, is that I kept finding myself kind of right over the edge of the line. It took a little bit of getting used to in that way. Tire noise. These tires are high-end mud terrain tires, and you can hear them not only at highway speed, but when you're driving around town, you can hear them humming at you, which I kind of like, I have to admit. It's something that I kind of enjoy. One of the benefits to the fact that this does have one of the better off-road suspensions you can get on the Bronco, just short of going all the way to the Raptor, these Fox shocks are really great, not only for off-road, but in town. Here are my favorite speed humps. It's like they're not even there. The valving on these shocks, the way the rebound and then the drop works, set for off-road to give you a better ride over those rough things, actually pays dividends right here. And so I wish regular cars had shocks that had valving like this. And so because we got big sidewalls, these big meaty tires, the ride even over these cracked streets, not bad. Speed hump again. And so going in and out of driveways, going over speed humps, potholes, any of those things that we experience in town, railroad tracks, who cares? Who gives a crap? And so, you know, they always say that there's compromises when you get an off-road vehicle when it comes to handling, and that is true. But at least around town, in the slower speed doing this and that, I find it a benefit here. And somehow they managed to get just a nice balance in the valving to where, unlike the Jeep Wrangler, which seems a little bit bouncy and roly-poly, which again I like, but it comes at the expense of road holding at faster speeds. Here we can get to higher speeds out on boulevards, on highways and back roads, and the handling tends to be a little bit better. Well, there you go, my friends, for my best crack at illustrating what this thing is like to live with every day in an American city, in an urban area, with all of the great challenges it has to offer. So if you're still watching, my guess is you're either seriously considering to buy one of these things, you own one, maybe you want to see if I'm full of crap or not, or you just like listening to me talk. Either way, I'm glad you're still watching. And so basically my take is yeah, you know, it's pretty comfortable, it's pretty easy, it's not as scary as it looks. Yes, a Ford Escape is probably going to be a little bit easier to handle if you're a little worried about tight spaces, but this is not like, well, let me just put it this way. A Jeep Wrangler is a little bit more of a compromise for your daily life. Ford made a point to make this more comfortable and a little bit more easy on life. Even though you still have the same type of off-road capability that you're going to get in the Wrangler. And I'm not bad-mouthing the Wrangler, I love the Wrangler, but you get some compromise there in terms of comfort and everyday ease of getting in and out and all that. So if you want a test drive of this, you can see my test drive of the Badlands with the Sasquatch package, or the Raptor, and a whole bunch of other Bronco content on our playlist right there. We've got a lot of videos. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there and stay informed of everything we do. Either way, stay tuned.